we're live backstage at TechCrunch Disrupt San Francisco 2012. I'm Colleen Taylor.
I'm Darrell Etherington.
I'm Jordan Crook.
And I'm Chris Velazco.
And we're all on the TechCrunch staff, TechCrunch Sharks, all here. The sound that you just heard, right now we're in our lunch break, the sound that you just heard was the remixed version of our TechCrunch Disrupt theme song. We held a contest, and the winner of that was a young woman by the name of Natasha Bryant-Ribel, who lives in Atlanta and made a pretty awesome remix of the TechCrunch Disrupt.
I'd say so.
Much needed remix. Thank you.
Thank you.
Natasha.
You have no idea how much we appreciate, because that song it can wear on you the exact same song over and over
For
again.
winning, you get a brand new iPhone 5.
That is what everyone always
And
that's not true. We have to no.
Sorry.
She won a new SoundCloud account and a ticket to come attend Disrupt. So which is a pretty great, winning prize, especially she was selected out of like 450 entries.
Wow.
Yeah.
That many people care about how bad our music was before.
Absolutely. But what we need to talk about, guys, right now is Apple. There's been a lot going on here at Disrupt, but just a few blocks away at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, Apple today unveiled a brand new iPhone, the iPhone 5. You were all covering it like crazy. Darrell, what do you think? What's the impression?
Well, I'm impressed. I mean, there's nothing surprising about it. A lot of it, basically all the details had leaked earlier, right? So it wasn't really anything shocking. But and a lot of people immediately were, friends of mine who know that this is something I cover were immediately like, I'm disappointed in this. This is disappointing. I'm not excited by this. And there were a lot of articles about how Apple has maybe lost the ability to excite with these events, but I think that's a very narrow view. Like, I think that's just from being, people that care about tech and cover tech, and I think that what they announced today is exciting and will be exciting to consumers. And,
See, that's the thing about Apple and their whole shock and awe thing. It's been a little while since we've gotten a new product that kind of completely disrupts, right? So the iPhone, the iPad, even Apple TV isn't really that disruptive, but there are these magic moments, even iTunes just totally changes everything, iPods, and it takes down record stores, and it destroys phones with keypads, and those are the moments where people are like, whoa, look what Apple's capable of. And it's been a little while since we've gotten one of those, and people start to get antsy, but that's not to say that the iPhone 5 isn't probably the best phone on the market as of this moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right after the announcement was made, I kind of, when I had a few minutes, I moseyed on over to Facebook, and a lot of people were hating on it, and I can't help but think a lot of that was just based off of the deluge of leaks and things like that have made their way out over the past few weeks and months that have really kind of set our expectations where if it's not something that's tremendously surprising, I think we as a community have a tendency to kind of poo-poo on it, which I don't think is fair, and I really like the iPhone 5, so.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that Apple's normally been so good at keeping everything under wraps. And this is really the first time that we've seen just basically the entire iPhone. We had pictures of it. We really knew basically exactly what was going on. I think the only question mark was NFC, and I owe you $20 because I thought there was going to be NFC.
Well, let's talk specifically about what is new. I mean, what I saw a lot of, maybe in general, some insiders were kind of let down, but I saw a lot of great tweets. And by the way, Twitter, if you have anything to say, hashtag TCDisrupt, I'm reading them all here. A lot of people were really liking the camera and the updates to the camera specifically. What happened with the camera when you guys talked about that?
Well, they've added in the Panorama Mode, which I think was something that they'd tipped before, like it was in the code, but it's good that it's arrived, and I think that's sort of parity, that's sort of feature parity compared to some Android devices, but their execution of other camera things so far has been, so much above sort of the competition that they've probably done a great job with the Panorama Mode as well. And then also, the multi-face detection and on the rear-facing camera, it does 10 faces now. Like, things like that are just, narrowing that gap between it and the point-and-shoot devices and making it so that there's less and less of a reason to have both, and Apple's been, one of the strongest, if not the strongest for that mobile device.
I saw a tweet from Cole Rise, who is the photographer who also designed the Instagram logo. He does he's behind the Rise filter on Instagram. He tweeted that Apple seems now to be focused in this latest iteration of the camera on making it so that it takes great photos in low light versus focusing on more and more megapixels.
Exactly.
Is that, what does that mean?
Other brands are actually announcing 16 megapixel or 12 megapixel cameras thinking that this will make a huge difference. When it comes down to it, even the new iPhone only has an 8 megapixel camera, but it still has the best camera probably to date. And a lot of that has to do with Apple software as well. So they really bring it on the software side, even with something as simple as Panorama Mode. They just screwed about 50 app developers. And they also managed to make the sensor itself thinner and smaller, correct? So it can fit in a thinner frame. So the iPhone 5 is actually thinner than the iPhone 4S.
And you also said something about the actual weight of the camera now the phone. The phone with a great camera being lighter, but what do you think about that?
I mean, they make the phones, everyone's trying to make phones lighter right now, and my big issue with that is the reason that the iPhone 4S is heavy is because it's made of aluminum and glass. And that's what makes it a premium device, that's what makes it look so great. And if we keep making phones lighter and lighter, if you pick up like a Samsung Galaxy S3 or a Galaxy Nexus, it can almost slide right out of your hand. I mean, you pick it up and you wave it around and you don't feel any weight or that premium value. And I think the materials speak a lot for that. The iPhone 5 will still look premium, but I'm weary of going lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter.
Okay. And we just got a tweet from Connor Anderson who said, iPhone 5 was nothing unexpected. The rumor mill is getting too good. But just for anybody who is not completely obsessed with the rumor mill, Chris, can you just say what's new in the iPhone 5?
Okay, so really quick rundown. One of the biggest things is obviously the 4-inch Retina display. A lot of kind of buzz around that. Apple has been sort of lagging behind the rest of the competition when it came to their screen size, especially when you see companies like HTC and Samsung really try to go as big as possible. So it's sort of an acknowledgement on Apple's part that, hey, yeah, bigger screens, they have a place in this world and you want to be a part of it. The other big things too, LTE, which I think was forecasted very heavily by the new iPad, but it's something that people have wanted for such a long time, especially because, with AT&T in particular, using it from time to time is a little rough with the 3G or the 4G, as they say.
And LTE is one of those things where if you haven't used it, you don't really realize what the advantages of it. But I used an HTC loaner phone, the 1X, for a while.
Oh yeah.
And being on that, and then going back to the iPhone, it felt like it was worlds of difference, right? Just the speed with which the website, your web pages load, and like everything, like data just comes down very, very quickly, and it makes a huge difference in terms of user experience.
And we just saw an image of Tim Cook, on stage. Was there any kind of feedback about his presentation?
I think he was a little bit more put together than last time. I think there was a lot of commentary at his last announcement that he was kind of trying to emulate Steve Jobs with, the untucked shirt and sneakers and trying to look casual, and it almost made him look messy. And I think this time, we weren't there, so we didn't get to hear him firsthand, but I think that the commentary was pretty good in terms of the way that he presented the product and kind of just got down to business.
And there's also a new Ipod Touch today, right?
Yes.
So what are all the new products that were unveiled today? There's no new iPad though, right? That was a rumor
iPad,
that didn't materialize.
Probably next month if they do an iPad mini, either next month or later this month.
Okay. But today, here we go with the iPod iteration. I know, Chris, you wrote our story about the newest Ipod Touch.
Yes.
What's the scoop?
So, the biggest thing with the iPod Touch is that it's sort of been brought into sort of parity with the new iPhone, and that it does have that same 4-inch display. I believe it's actually their thinnest and their lightest iPod Touch yet, which is actually really impressive considering how slim and sort of insubstantial the prior generation was in the hand. The camera has been improved greatly. It now sports the A5 processor as opposed to the A4. So it's not on the bleeding edge of performance, but it's a damn sight better than it used to be. And I don't know, I'm really excited for it.
And then they also released a new Ipod Nano, and they brought back a screen. So they have a 2.5-inch display on that, and they brought in a home button, there's controls on the side, and they brought in a whole new bevy of colors, I guess. It's a nice improvement, and the iPod Nano is actually one of Apple's best-selling products to date. And the iPod in general is the most popular music player in the world. So bringing in the screen and kind of bringing it into the future, I guess, is a smart move by Apple. I'm sure it'll do well.
With the Nano, though, I was a little bit disappointed because I like the old form factor. I had high hopes for it in terms of wearable computing. I have so many watch band accessory things that are now useless. Well, I'll buy the refurb old ones. But I mean, it just seemed like that was a missed opportunity. Like they were doing something there and going in one direction, and now they've gone back. And I mean, they've done this with the Nano many times, where they do a reversal in the design and they go back to an older design language. But so I'm more ambivalent about this design change. But I guess we'll see, what people think of it.
Connor Anderson just weighed in again on Twitter. He said, looking at the price points, there isn't much room for the iPad mini. Do you guys agree with that?
I'm not sure exactly what he means. I think that with the Kindle Fire HD recently, Amazon's really the first huge ecosystem provider to say, hey, we'll match Apple on price, $4.99 for the LTE version. And that's a threat for the first time to the iPad. And I think that an iPad mini at $199 or $299 will definitely kind of come in and push back on the Fire HD, the smaller one at least. So I think there's definitely room.
I think his point is just that, because of the touch and the screen size of the touch and the price point of the touch, there might not be wiggle room there, right? Does Apple, does it have room to sell both $199 or $299 iPad mini and the $199 Ipod Touch?
I think it definitely does, because the gaming for one, and ebook reading, stuff like that, the 7-inch or the 7.85-inch form factor is just absolutely perfect. And if you game a lot on an iPad and you just bring it down, use a playbook, God forbid, or a Fire HD or whatever, and feel that form factor, and it makes the world of difference. I mean, that's just a little bit smaller, and it becomes so much more comfortable to do those things. And with gaming just completely on the rise on a tablet, I think there's definitely a difference between someone who wants to carry around an iPod Touch in their pocket and someone that wants to carry an iPad mini in their backpack.
And it seems like, if anybody ever thinks that there's not going to be more appetite for this Apple stuff, it seems like they prove those people wrong every quarter. And even today they announced some new numbers, right, with the amount of visits to the App Store, the downloads. What were some of those numbers? Darrell, I think you wrote a story about the
I did. The App Store. Specific. There was 700,000 apps in the App Store now, which is up from, I think, 600,000 at WWDC, right?
Oh, yeah.
Roughly. They did not talk about developer revenue, which I was hoping to get an update on, but that's been growing steadily too in the past. So
they're also the number one. This is kind of crazy. Apple is now the number one notebook seller in the U.S. or has topped notebook sales in the U.S., which is just crazy because it's supposed to be a post-PC world, and Apple's kind of leading the revolution, and yet they're selling more notebooks than anyone else. And they also announced 400 million iOS devices sold, which is up from 365 in March. So those are really crazy numbers, just to wrap your head around.
TechCrunch writers are just the best. You guys are so amazing. You just know everything about this stuff, and it's really great. Chris, Jordan, and Darrell to talk to you about it. And of course, we're going to have more this afternoon. Our own, cowboy roaming the Badlands himself, MG Siegler, is going to be on stage at 3 p.m. with Jim Dalrymple and a few other people talking all about Apple at 3 on stage here at Disrupt. So make sure you tune in for that. It's going to be great. And speaking of other types of hardware, we have a Hardware Alley here, and Mike Butcher has been walking up and down and talking to all the folks there. So check it out. We have a video right here.